Welcome to Post Mormon Peace. I want to talk through today a tool, a principle that has been very valuable for me in working through and making peace with Mormonism and peace with religion in general. And this tool or thought process is the idea that truth is subjective. And I've had this conversation with several different people, and it makes sense that there's different ways to receive that and to look at it. There's a lot of people that the very initial thought is truth isn't subjective. Like, this table is here. I can see the table. I can feel it. Like, it's a table. That's not subjective. Um, and the laws of physics, or certain things you can say are like universal truths, and I understand all that, and I think there's definitely a valid point to looking at things that way. um but at the same time, those things are still somewhat relative. It's relative to our own observations, to the way, to what we can observe with our own eyes. You can even go so far as to say, how do I know that you're actually real and I'm not just in a, some sort of simulation, right? And this is all, just appearing in my mind. How do I know that I am real? So you can go like in a lot of different directions as far as if you really want to evaluate this. And I tend to like the idea and the philosophy of approaching things in a way as though I have a beginner's mind. There is a word in, I actually don't know if it's Japanese or Chinese, but the word is Shoshin. And the word Shoshin means a beginner's mind. And I have that as the background on my phone. I have a shirt that says Shoshin because it's something that reminds me to approach things in that way. I like the idea of living life and being comfortable with questions and enjoying the process of asking questions without the need to find a specific answer or to feel very confident about something specific. So that's what I want to talk about. Um, I was raised, and I think most of us in the church are raised or have been in a way where you are taught to see the world in pretty much black and white. This is good. This is bad. This is true. This is not. There's almost always an answer for something, and that also kind of leads to this philosophy, this way of living, or at least in my experience, that to give you kind of this paradigm where you feel like you're fortunate to have the answers, to have the knowledge, and that can potentially lead to you not asking questions, not thinking through things. The process of asking questions and having the feeling that you don't know can be something that's pretty uncomfortable to go through. And probably many of you have experienced this, myself included. I still remember one of the most tumultuous times of inner conflict was when my wife and I were trying to decide what we should do, if we should stay a part of the church or not. And we were both reading Rough Stone Rolling at the time. And that book was such a roller coaster for me to read. It was like I'd read one day or even 1 minute and be thinking, oh, yeah, this has got to be the truth. And then the other a few minutes later, I'm just thinking, there is no way, this is just crazy. And it's interesting to me. I think Richard Bushman probably has the ability to be comfortable with asking questions and not having answers. And I think that's evident in the way that he writes and presents information. He's comfortable with that, and I think that's great. It's impressive. Um, Neither of these thought processes, seeing something in black and white or um, being more open minded, is right or wrong. I think it's important to establish that it's very easy. Interestingly enough, it's very easy when you've been taught that something is black and white, that then when you learn or you decide that that is not what you're going to believe anymore, it can be equally as easy to adopt that thought process of being open minded and seeing truth as being subjective, and then being committed to that idea that then leads you to not being open minded to those that still see the world in black and white or have a very strong religious perspective on something. So, again, neither of these perspectives is right or wrong. They just lead to different ways of life, and they're all okay. They're all acceptable. The thought process that I want to talk through and how I am able to work through that and to feel good about that is with the understanding that your belief frames your world, your perspective frames your world. I could look up phone numbers of people living in New York, and I could call two phone numbers, two different people that live in the exact same apartment building in the same area of the city, that have jobs in the same building or same company as well, and even have, maybe similar groups of friends. There's a lot of overlap between these people, and they experience a lot of similar things in life. And I can call both of those people and I can say, hey, I am conducting a study. I'm over here in Idaho, or wherever I am. I'm conducting a study, and I just would like to hear from your perspective what it's like to live in New York City. I can talk to one person, I can get their perspective, and they might say, "Oh, it's dirty. I feel like there's homeless, and I'm being asked for things by people on the street, and it's just not the way that it used to be, and I don't really like living here." And then I can call that second person again, same exact situation for the most part, and that person can say, man, I love living in New York. It's a great area. I have a lot of good friends. There's people that are very kind and generous. It's definitely a busy city, but I still find that there's a lot of love here, and I really enjoy my life here. So, what's the difference between those two people? What about their situations is not subjective? Right? I mean, they live in, I tried to describe things as they live as much similarity in their lifestyle and area as possible, but yet they have very, very different experiences. And it's because their belief, their perspective, their thoughts about the world around them are what frames their view of the world. The same thing applies to religions. I can look at people in different religions, and they can experience different things during their life. Some really good examples are situations where two people engage in the exact same type of activity. One feels horribly guilty about it, and the other one never thinks twice about it. Um, Certain cultures have very different standards as far as modesty, what's appropriate as far as clothes to wear. And someone with a grows up in a certain situation or believes a certain thing about modesty goes and sees that person, they feel very uncomfortable, but the other person doesn't. um Somebody has grown up seeing people drink coffee their whole lives, And for some reason, for me, I see them and think, oh man, they makes me really uncomfortable. I can't believe they're drinking coffee, right? Or if I experience it firsthand, if I grew up seeing it in my family and I drink coffee when I get older, no big deal. But if I've been taught that, my whole life that it's not good, it's bad, and then I try it, I could very likely feel some guilt associated with that. So, our ideas shape our world. It can be very powerful when you can start to evaluate thoughts as not right or wrong, but more in the context of what does this lead to? Like I talked about with Shoshin, when you find someone with a different perspective or a different belief than you, how can you have a beginner mind about that? What questions can you take away or apply in that situation? For myself, what I find myself doing is initially I might say, "Oh, I can't believe they believe that. They really should be listening to me right now. I've been through experiences and I know what it's like to believe that or something else and I think, they really should adopt my philosophy. My way of thinking about life is the much more appropriate and suitable way." What happens when I do that though? I'm basically just creating a barrier between myself and that other person. I'm putting up a wall that creates disconnect. And if that's what I want to experience, then I suppose that's okay. But there is another option. So initially, I may go through that thought process. And if I can recognize it, that leads me to the ability to then say, all right, Derek, let's get curious about this. Let's have the beginner's mind. Let's apply Shoshin here. So then I start to think of questions. Somebody might be talking about their belief, and I can think, how can I learn from this person? What is it like to live in this person's head? How do these beliefs and these thoughts benefit this person? How do they maybe not benefit this person? That's a very peace promoting way to look at it for me. It allows me to kind of step back and to shake off my ego, to look at others and to love a little bit more, to be a little bit more accepting. And what I would love to see is for those of you that are kind of in this space to try and experiment with this. Try and take off the glasses that have you looking at things and classifying them and putting them in certain boxes, saying that they're good or bad or true or not true, and start to ask some of these questions. Start to think, what does this belief lead to? How does this frame this person's world? How valuable is it to this person? How did I find value when I lived and experienced some similar beliefs? How does this lead this person to serving more? How does it lead this person to a greater capacity to love? And as you allow yourself to be open and explore those things, you will find yourself enjoying those conversations more, much more than if you came in with the motive of what could you teach this person or why should they be listening to you. That's all I have for now. I'd love to hear in the comments, in whatever platform this is shared on, how are you able to apply this? Or how have you applied it and seen its benefits? How have you maybe not applied it and what has that led to? Let's all look at our actions and thoughts and evaluate the results that come from it rather than painting them as good and bad. Thank you. See you next time.